when you're working with CAD files, you bring in the engineer's CAD data from a DWG or a DXF or a DGN file. And when you bring it in, if you take a look at the properties of the data that you bring in, you'll actually find that the properties show you things like the layer name that the engineer used. So this is the kind of naming that engineers use. And it's often not what you really want when you're actually working with the data. You'll also find that from CAD data, most times you'll have no names of objects. The objects will have everything set up to by layer, which is fine. So red is red and green is green, but it's all set to by layer. So if you then later on relayer this data during the data prep process onto your own standard layers, then using the by layer will mean it will map to the new layer color that you have. But that means you very rapidly lose touch with what the data was when you brought it in, and you can lose sight of what information it was. So later on you come back and say, what was this blue line? Was that a curb line? Was that a flow line? Was that a center line? Whatever it was. And so one of the things you can do in data prep using the RPS Toolbox is we have a data prep tool called Name by Layer, which we just done a major update to this week. And if you click on that command, basically it allows you to pick all the objects in the project. And then you can decide whether you want to change the layer color from by layer to the actual object's layer color. So in other words, if the by layer color is red, we recolor the objects to actually true red. And so then when you relayer the data later on and put it on your own standard layers, it still has the original object color that it came in with. The same applies to line styles, the same applies to line weights and line colors. And so you can check all these three checkboxes here to change the object properties. And then also you can also go through and say assign the layer name to the selected lines. So in other words, if the layer name was given it the name we looked at a minute ago, then that name can fill in this field. So then if you move that object to a different layer, you'll still have some reference back to the original layer that the object came from. That way it might help you later on to diagnose a problem that you may have created when you relayered things onto the wrong layer, for example. So in other words, you can go through here, you can give it a name mask here, and if you want to, you can map the layer names as well. So you can say anything on this layer name goes to this object name. So you can use a mapping file to do that if you need to. If you want help on this, you can go to the Rockpile community to get that information. Or you can just press F1 here and it will open up the help system on the Rockpile community for this particular command. So once you've set this up, you can then hit apply. It takes a couple of seconds to do, and it tells you what it modified at the bottom of the command here. Then you can say OK. And now if I go back to this object here that we were looking at, you can see now instead of it being set to by layer, by layer, by layer, now it has all of the information that that object carried in the initial file. So again, makes it a lot easier later on when I've relayered this data to be able to trace back, oh, that's the layer it came from because it's now in the object name, but the layer may have changed to curb, for instance. So anyway, again, great little tool for data prep users. When you actually finish the data prep process, you may run that command again and rename all the objects to the layer name that they're now on, because that might be a more meaningful layer name than the engineer's layer name, and maybe more meaningful to your field and site crews using machine control, site positioning, or surveying equipment. Okay, so again, nice little tip, nice little trick here. Name by layer command, it's in the Rockpile Data Prep Toolbox. If you want more information on that, please come to rockpilesolutions.com, take a look at our website, or myrockpile, community.myrockpile.com, which is our community forum pages. Again, thanks very much for your time, and hope this helps with your data prep processes. Thank you.